And if you look at death,
It started to go up
here's
again.
one. Well, right here, the United States is lowest in numerous categories. We're lower than the world.
Lower than
We're
the
lower
world?
than
What does that mean?
Europe.
In what?
Look.
In what?
Take a look. Right here. Here's case death.
Oh, you're doing death as a proportion of cases. I'm talking about death as a proportion of population. That's where the US is really bad.
Well,
Much worse than South Korea, Germany, etc.
you can't do that. You have
Why
to go.
can't I do that?
You have to go by where. Look, here is the United States. You have to go by the cases. The cases.
Why
are
not
there.
as a proportion of
when
population?
We have somebody. What it says is when you have somebody that has where there's a case.
Oh, okay.
The people that live from those.
Welcome to the Voice of Liberty podcast. My name is Henry Conley. Let's talk about bad grades. And let's talk about Donald Trump and how the two correlate together. What you just saw was a roughly 52-second excerpt from a Axios on HBO interview with Donald Trump the other day. In this interview, Donald Trump gave, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, probably one of his poorest interviews he has ever given. This interview was a rambling mess of the president of the United States attempting to take what was being thrown at him by the interviewer and attempt to spin it in his favor. It was a mess of him attempting to dodge questions, attempting to dodge facts, attempting to contort facts, and attempting to contort the very information being used to support the case. Now, in this interview, Donald Trump starts off with a very shocking statement. We're lower than the world, which I'm still trying to decode what the hell he's talking about. I've watched this 52-second clip easily 30 or 40 times, and I'm still not 100% sure what he meant that we are lower than the world as far as cases go, besides in some way, shape, or form attempting to brainwash his cult into saying, okay, well, the amount of cases we have versus the total cases in the world, we are lower than that. Attempting to turn the cumulative total of number of cases in the world into a reason to say, well, we're below that, we must be better. But it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm still very confused by this. But because to say that we are lower than the cumulative total of cases in the world is just absolutely preposterous. It's intellectually dishonest, and I can't believe I'm saying intellectually dishonest referring to Donald Trump, but I am. Because to attempt to make that type of argument, and then to try to argue on the total number of cases in the country instead of cases based on population, it's a logical fallacy. See, a lot of people want to sit there and argue about, and this is going to go slightly off topic, but I'll wrap it all in here. A lot of people argue about Sweden and Sweden's case numbers and Sweden's not shutting down. And this argument that Donald Trump's trying to present almost sounds the same as that argument, where they're looking at total number of cases, but they're not looking at cases by population volume. Generally, if you look at cases by population volume of Nordic countries, Sweden is unbelievably high. If you look at it by a population of 100,000, Sweden has 8.2 cases. The surrounding Nordic countries have 2.3, 4, roughly in the area of that. Donald Trump is arguing about total cases in the United States. He's not arguing about cases by population. In the numbers of cases by population, and in the extended clip, you would actually hear it in the full Axios interview. Cases by population, the United States is trailing pretty much every other industrialized country in the world. The United States is literally doing the worst out of industrialized first world nations. We are absolutely trailing. And then, if you look more and more into the interview, Donald Trump, of course, hammers in on his testing argument yet again. But see, this is the first time we've seen him really use the testing argument in the midst of a full-on interview. Donald Trump reiterated his whole idea that the reason the United States has more cases is because we have more testing, and that if we didn't have more testing, we wouldn't have more cases. And the interviewer goes as far as to say, yes, we do have more testing. He acknowledges that we do have testing. Anybody with a logical brain would acknowledge that we have more testing. But the problem here is that testing doesn't create new cases. I've said it multiple times. Testing only identifies existing cases, which then goes right back to the point that we need to make here, that the President of the United States is using logical fallacies and intellectual dishonesty to attempt to sway his cult. In the beginning of the interview, the interviewer asks about the actions Donald Trump has taken during the pandemic. He hammers in the point that his cult does, and of course he doesn't call him the cult, but I will. He hammers in the fact that his cult views media in any shape or form, including independent journalists like myself, as fake news, and that the only people that are real news to him are those that he says are real news or him himself. Specifically, the interviewer argues from the idea of he makes it so that he is the definition of real news. Now, with that being said, he hammers in the point that Donald Trump has failed to be the voice of reason to his flock, to his cult. Instead of sitting there and acknowledging that they should wear masks and that they should practice physical distancing, Donald Trump made sure that he didn't do that. He argued that masks were not needed, that it was going away, that the physical distancing is unnecessary, and thus his cult believed it. They fell for it. That is news to them. This interviewer was 100% tactful in destroying the moves that Donald Trump has been making, in shutting down his argument and shutting down the case that he attempts to make. Donald Trump looked like a child who just got a failing grade on a test and is attempting to get his teacher or her teacher to swing the curve. Donald Trump looked like someone who was begging a professor to give them a passing grade so they do not get dropped out of a course. See, that's what it was. Donald Trump went flipping through different papers, attempting to find the things in which he needed to argue his case. Donald Trump found the things he knew he could argue his case with, but the problem was that would only work if he was arguing his case to his people, to his cult, and to his very own cabinet. That's not going to work with a journalist, let alone a journalist for a group such as Axios on HBO, where those journalists are at the pinnacle of their career. Their ability to interview someone is at the pinnacle of interviewer technique. Donald Trump is used to arguing with people that are intellectually dishonest. That's why he goes on Tucker Carlson. That's why he talks to the people at Fox News and OANN and other sources like them. Because intellectual dishonesty is a part of their game. Donald Trump looked literally like a child. At one point, he got visibly frustrated with the interviewer, to the point where I was expecting him to stand up and stop the interview. And this is what people on the right look towards for a symbol of hope and a beacon of strength and a beacon of American pride. Donald Trump, arguing from an intellectually dishonest standpoint, using logical fallacies, and at points getting physically and visibly frustrated with the interviewer when he's backed into a corner, that is a symbol of pride. Let's just take that for a moment and think about it. Donald Trump is nothing more than a child in a grown man's body. When he doesn't get his way, he throws a temper tantrum. When things don't get used, or facts aren't used in the way he sees them fit, he says, you can't do that. You can't do that. And that's the problem with Donald Trump. He has never left the state of being in elementary or middle or high school. The mentality of that has never left. And it's because his family allowed that to fester or to fester and to grow for years. So bad grades, arguing for a new bell curve, and Donald Trump failing an Axios interview. Sounds like yet another day in 2020. Thanks for watching the Voice of Liberty podcast. Be a voice of liberty. Awaken the voice of liberty.